First of all, James, welcome to Champaign. Why was this the right opportunity for you?
I mean, definitely the familiarity. Coach B coached me in college for 3 years. He recruited me. Actually met again with him in New England for a season there. So he's always been great to me. Reached out to him. Came out, did an interview, met the office staff and the rest of the staff, and now I'm here.
What have things been like so far? I mean, are you enjoying it? And tell us a little bit about what you hope to bring.
I'm definitely enjoying it. It's definitely, kind of a learning curve. Last year, I kind of helped out with NIU. I wasn't necessarily a coach. I was there about, 4 or 5 days out of the week with Thomas Hammock. So I got a little bit of a feel for it, but it's been fun learning the guys, learning the offense, learning the coaching staff, just learning everybody within the building. I think that's a big thing. I mean, with college programs now, as we see, got like 2 position coaches for every position. There's a lot of names, a lot of faces. So I'm just trying to learn as much as possible, as fast as possible. So I'm able to help the guys. I'm able to help the coaches, any way I can. And I'm just trying to be a sponge, just like I was as a player, trying to learn as much as I can so I can share the information with the players, share some of my experiences that I went through as a player and as I'm learning as a coach, just to make sure they're at their best, come Saturdays.
When you were in the NFL, did you have in the back of your mind that you wanted to get into coaching after your playing career was done?
Actually, I knew it was a possibility. I knew that wasn't going to be my first choice, just because I know the hours that go along with it. It's definitely a grind. You're here all day. You're watching the film. You're learning your players, making sure they're on the academics. You're making sure they're on top of everything, making sure that they can be the best. Not just football players, but people. So they're set up whenever football is done, because it's going to be done for everybody at some point. So wasn't necessarily my first choice, but like I said, I knew it was always potentially a thing. Always felt like I had a good amount of football knowledge, and to be able to share that with the younger generation. But not only that, just like I said, the biggest thing for me, I always wanted to make an impact on young people, and to be 18 to whatever, 22 to 24 years old. I mean, life is coming at you really fast. You're starting to really learn about yourself, to kind of share my experiences to help them, and like I said, to learn about them too. And that's what life's all about.
You played with him, at Wisconsin, New England for a year. Now you're coaching under him. Has Bret Bielema changed over the course of the years, or is he the same guy?
I mean, definitely. He's definitely changed in a good way. I mean, everybody evolves. I mean, I'm different than when I was at 18 years old, when he met me in New England, when I was however old, when he was there, 28 years old. I'm sure I was different than when he first met me, but in a good way. We all learn from our experiences, and I think he has. And he's done a great job of, from Wisconsin, well, wherever he started Iowa, Wisconsin, to Arkansas, to New England, to where he is now. You're constantly evolving, you're constantly learning.
What are your impressions so far of your room?
I mean, it's a lot of talent in there. I mean, I said always, it kind of reminds me of, some of my backfields when I was at Wisconsin, different body types, different personalities. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but the things that make them unique. So I'm still, trying to learn them, learn how they learn how they practice to, like I said, help maximize their talents.
Bret said he was kind of on you for a while, like, hey, when you get the bug, call me. Like, what was the moment that you were like, all right, I got the bug?
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Hammock, ever since I started kind of helping him out, he would be kind of pushing it, every single day. Like, you'd be a great coach. Like, you should go ahead and do it. I'm like, I don't necessarily feel like doing it. Like, I'll help out, but don't call me a coach. And then eventually at some point, during the spring, he was like, I came up to him, I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. He was like, reach out to Bret, reach out to, the coaches that have coached you, see what happens. Obviously, you always have a spot here, but, reach out to see what's there. And, Coach B answered right away, and I came up probably like a day or two later and made it happen.
What do you tell these guys about being in a room that uses multiple running backs, since you were with a group that found success with that?
Oh, it's all about competition. I think that's first and foremost. And it's not going to be easy, because you're only going to get a certain amount of reps. Like, one day you may get 10 reps, one day you may get 20 reps. You never really know how it's going to be, but when you have other talented backs in your backfield and you see what they're doing and you want to, be just as good or better than what they are, I think it naturally makes you a better football player, and you can learn from each and every one of those guys. And hey, you stay a little bit fresher too when you have 3 or 4 guys that can go out there and make an impact.
I think Dad has really fostered that. What have you learned from him just in the couple of weeks you've been with him?
Well, I've learned a lot. I mean, I said I've never been a coach before. Just to hear the way he teaches those guys, whether it's different phrases or sayings or ways to communicate to make sure those guys are learning. Because that's what I've learn just the 2-3 weeks I've been here. Everybody learns differently. Everybody learns at a different pace. So you got to be able to know the way each player is going to learn. And you're not just coaching one guy. You're coaching, you got like 8 guys in the room. So you got to make sure all those guys are up to speed because you never know when those guys are going to have to play.
At least I'm curious, why is Bret someone you want to keep coming back to or reconnecting with? What is it about him?
I mean, he's just obviously he's an awesome coach, an awesome human being too. And I think that's what's most important to me. And that's why I ended up going to Wisconsin. When he comes into your home, when you visit the campus, for me it was Wisconsin. For the kids here, it's Illinois. I think you feel a sense of, I guess you say kind of comfort. It's like a home away from home, and he's going to try and make you be the best football player you can be, but be the best human being that you could possibly be. So I think that's what it's all about. We believe in a lot of the same things, so I think it's just a great mesh.
When you gave him a call, was he surprised? Was he happy? What was that phone call like when you reached out?
Man, I sent him a message, and he was kind of surprised. It was kind of out of the blue, just a random Tuesday or Wednesday. And like I said, he responded, really quickly. Just wanted to see how soon could I get up here to meet the guys, to meet the players, to meet the coaching staff and whatnot. So he's very receptive to it. Like I said, had a great relationship since 2009, 2010. All the way through. I remember like when he came to New England for the year, because he was over there for one season, and he ended up coaching the Giants the next year. Like when he figured out he was taking the Giants job, like he called me. I'm like, you don't have to call me. Like I understand. Like I understand how the business works. But he reached out to me. He's like, I'm going to New York. And like that's just the type of person that he is. Just a very great human being.
Did you see your time staying at the Patriots? Obviously, you played at college in a time where you tended to stay in one place, but then staying that long in one team. Now you're entering in a world of college football where you can go every year, and pros go where they go. Is there something? You have a loyalty streak in you there in that way, or was that just how it worked out?
I mean, it's definitely how it worked out because the team has to want you, not the college, but the NFL team has to want you every single year because they're trying to find guys to replace you every single season. It's a different era in football, college, and even in the NFL. Like it's rare that you see a guy play for one franchise for 8-10 years now. So it's a little bit different. But like I said, that's the nature of the beast. The game is gonna constantly change, but you definitely want to love upon the guys, while they're here, and the kids, they have their right to make their own choices whether they want to be here or be somewhere else.
Do you sense the buy-in from that room? We talked to them on Monday because there's 4 backs in there could be featured back somewhere else. But do you sense that we all want to be here for a reason together?
Oh, almost definitely. Like I said, from these 2 weeks of spring ball, 2-3 weeks of spring ball, these guys have been competing. The veteran guys that have played a ton of snaps, they're looking like the best version of themselves, and the younger guys, seeing Khalil back out there for the first time yesterday. Then you got young Aaron Ball, who's a walk-on, who's trying to push himself mentally and physically. I think everybody's just trying to push themselves to be the best version of themselves.
That was a short time with Thomas Hammock, but what did you take away the most from your short time there?
Just the way he's able to, captivate and motivate his players on a daily basis. I think that's a huge challenge. I mean, you're standing in front of 100+ kids every single day. It's almost like the message is kind of repetitive, but to keep it fresh, to keep those guys motivated on the practice field, and just keep pushing, knowing when to push those buttons too. It's like some days you're gonna be maybe a little bit more reserved. Some days you may have to be a little bit more animated. You gotta get a feel for the approach of your football team. And I thought Thomas Hammock did a great job of that, and already being here for a few weeks, I know how Coach B coaches, but to see the way he's managing, the way the guys practiced, and whether it's a good practice, bad practice, however you want to see it, just to keep those guys, really learning the game and making sure they're practicing hard all the time.
Do you feel like college football has become a little bit more like the NFL? And just I have to side the point. What was your reaction when Bill Belichick became North Carolina's head coach?
It's definitely becoming more like the NFL. I mean, obviously guys are getting paid. I mean, the roster sizes are going down now. Not really going to be as much walk-ons and all that stuff. So you're almost becoming kind of like a professional, learning how to manage your own money. Look, the roster cuts, like all this stuff that's the NFL. So that's really where it's at. And I was surprised when I saw Bill Belichick going to North Carolina, but I mean, there's no challenge that I believe he can't handle. The greatest coach of all time in the NFL. Now he's taking on a new challenge with college. Obviously, there's going to be a lot to learn from him, but you trust and believe those kids will be prepared when game days roll around.
What do goals look like for you? I mean, are you someone who wants to be a coordinator or head coach someday? Are you not that far?
I mean, definitely. I mean, I think when you step into it, probably, I would assume most guys would love to be a coordinator or a head coach. I mean, like I said, I'm only a couple weeks into it, so just trying to learn as much as possible. You know, like I said, learn the way that Coach B coaches. Obviously, I saw the way Thomas Hammond coached. Learned from Coach Lundy. Learned from Aaron Henry, one of my former teammates in college. So I'm just really trying to learn the entire process, just constantly taking notes, which is a big thing that Coach B has preached ever since 2010. Just being that sponge, being receptive to everything.
I mean, you mentioned the number of coaches. I mean, it's gone up since you played. And there's no limits on like who can be on the field. And coach, as a young coach, just getting in, how much of an advantage is to be able to be hands-on with players instead of maybe, as an analyst and kind of watching.
I mean, it's great because look, as a college coach, there's a lot on your plate. I mean, you got recruiting, you got to make sure you got to do the academics. You have 8 guys to manage. Maybe guys want to meet individually. Maybe they want to do walkthroughs. So you don't have to do all that all by yourself. Now you have another guy in the room to you can kind of focus on. I mean, maybe some days you make the time to be able to talk to players. Maybe a different day, I'm the guy who's available for the players. So I think that's good for the guys to have multiple people to relay the information to them to get what they need to be prepared.
You were known as a pass catcher as a back. Is that something you're trying to specialize in a little bit? Be a little more hands-on with the guys?
I mean, with everything. Like I ran the ball way more than I caught passes in college, but in the NFL, that was my role to catch passes, obviously. And I'm going to help those guys sharpen up those tools when it comes to the passing game. But obviously, I was a good runner in college, too, so I'm going to emphasize that as well. Just being as versatile as possible because there's a lot of talent in that room. Guys can do a lot of different things. Like whether you want to have 2 guys on the field at the same time, 1 on the field at the same time, I think they all are capable of doing multiple things. So the more they're able to show it in practice, then hey, I'm sure they'll be doing the games.
And just out of curiosity, I know your time at NIU was a bit limited, but did you have any standout observations about Ethan now that he's here?
I mean, he's a calm, reserved guy. He works hard. I mean, he doesn't necessarily talk too much. I mean, but look, you know what you're going to get from him. He's going to be prepared. He's going to be detailed. And like I said, seeing him from NIU to here, it's a lot of the same things. And I think he brings, a great amount of experience, and he brings, some more better leadership in that quarterback room.
And I'm curious, you have a resume that I think a lot of those guys in the room would like to have. So how do you balance that and kind of letting them know your experiences and where you've been without trying to be maybe too much?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really talk about my experience unless they ask or maybe Dad asks. But I don't really talk about that too much unless, maybe it's something that we're doing here that's very similar to what I did, and I'll try and find clips. I mean, you can find anything these days with technology. Try to find the clips to kind of relate it to what they're doing to give them, kind of an example along with teaching it to them. So I don't really speak too much on myself. I mean, I let other people do that.
So you want to show off like the 3 Super Bowl rings?
No. Maybe at some point I'll bring those in the meeting room or something. But no.
I'm sure they ask. So when they ask, what is the dynamic of those conversations?
It's like I said, I've only been here 3 weeks. I don't feel like most people are that comfortable with me. I mean, but I mean, like yesterday, Zafir, like the offensive tackle, he grew up in Philly. He's a Philadelphia Eagles fan, which I was growing up too. Like when we were leaving, he's like, hey, you played for the Patriots, right? He's like, yeah, we beat you in that Super Bowl. So I mean, it's starting to get a little bit more comfortable, starting to open up a little bit more. So I think the longer that I'm here, like I said, the guys get more comfortable. Those type of conversations will start to happen. And that's natural. I wouldn't. If I was like them and I was sitting in the meeting room, I probably wouldn't ask them nothing either. I was pretty shy at that age.
I do think the role thing you talked about, how your role shifted maybe from college to the NFL, like that's something that can translate really. So what's the messaging there? Like, hey, just excel in whatever that role is.
Yeah, you just got to maximize your role. And I think that was a big thing that, Bill Belichick will preach all the time, just kind of be a star in your role. I mean, some guys are going to play 100 snaps, some guy may play 10 snaps. But if you are at your best in those 10 snaps and you allow us to help us win the football game, that's just as great. Just like a practice squad player. You may not show up on game days to play, but if you do your job throughout the practice week and help us get prepared to win, that is great. I know people don't like to give those guys or the scout team guys credit, but they're just as important as any starter if you're giving a look. So, yeah, just be a star in your role at all times.